Hi, thank you guys for being here. This is the sixth session, the sixth week. It's our last time to get together talking about how to build a Canvas course. And today's topic is to finalize and publish. It's really the last piece in the whole series. But just to kind of recap, we started off in week one going over the process and just kind of getting a feel for Canvas and the basics. In week two, I talked about organization and settings and how you can, divide up and put your information in different areas, and you control some of the features of your course through the settings areas. Then in week three, I talked about editing and building content areas, which includes the rich content editor and how you can add information. In week four, we went through preparing graded assignments and setting up our gradebook. And week five, we wrapped up with creating modules and structure and really crafting the path that students will take to navigate through your course. Today is week six. It's finalize and publish, and it's really, you've done all the work, you've got all your pieces in place, and you're just going to want to check to make sure that everything is working properly and is set up and ready to go for your students. So I'm going to talk about some of that. I'm going to jump over into that section. So in my asynchronous course here, I've got the finalize and publish list. And the first thing on the list here is talking about copying content. So way back at the beginning of this series, I talked about copying content because you can really do your workflow any which way that suits you best. You can copy first and then finish building, or you can do some sandbox building and copy later. So we're just going to talk real quick to remind ourselves about the two methods that we can use to copy content in Canvas. The first one is the push method, and it's when you decided to build some pieces in your sandbox and you want to push them over into your academic shell. So I'm sharing my screen with you guys. What you should see is both my sandbox is open, and in a second tab, I have my academic shell. So for the first one, I'm going to be in Sandbox, and I'm going to push some information over to the academic space. This works well in modules, which is what I'm going to demonstrate, but you also have the option in some other areas, and we'll talk about that more specifically in a second. So in modules, along the top of the box that's holding all of your stuff, your three-dot menu to the right, you have the option to copy to. And when you choose this, the entire module and all of its contents, you would select the course you want to move the information to from a drop-down list. Now, you're wondering why mine's blank. Well, it takes a long time to populate because I have every course for the entire institution available as an admin. You will only see the courses you're enrolled in. So then you would select the course that you're interested in copying to and select the copy button. And that process will say successfully began, and it will take a few minutes and then it's done. So that is really a fast, easy way to do it. You also can go individually by items depending on what the item is. So these files here, these files are not going to have a copy option to do one by one, but this assignment does. So files do not, assignments do. This is a page. You also have the option for pages. And then if we scroll down, you'll see I'm looking for a quiz possibly. Let's see if I have a quiz. And I don't right now, but that's okay. I can show you in my academic shell that I do have quizzes. So let's take a look over here. And one second, pull up a quiz. And you'll see you also have the copy too. So some features have it, a couple don't. And then that's how you can push your information from one course to another. The second method, the pool method, is where you're going to go into the space you want to put the information, your academic shell, and you're going to go to settings. And inside settings, you can import course content, importing to pull it from somewhere else. And when you choose import content, you have a drop-down box that you're going to select copy a Canvas course, and you're going to choose select specific content. And when you do that, you're going to get this extra button here to choose that content. Now, I like to take a moment to talk about this adjust events and due dates. This is not necessarily going to help you at the moment with this transition from Blackboard, but the next time you teach your course, you will want to use this feature. What you would do is enter in the original dates of the course. So let's say, for example, this year, the first day is going to be today, May 7th, March. Oh gosh, where's the year gone? Okay, May 7th is the first day. So then next year that I want to change it to, I'm going to fast forward to May 6th. And by doing this for both my beginning and my end dates, it's going to automatically push the calendar dates forward to set them automatically for you next year. Every due date, every open and close date, every locked until date, the system will automatically update them for you, which is very convenient for when you're reusing your course next year or next term. So I'm actually going to uncheck that feature though, because I'm not going to use it. And I'm going to say cancel because I already have the process that ran right here. So I'm going to use this one and I'm going to say select content. And all of the things that I can choose from are listed in this space. So if you have more than modules, something more comprehensive that you want to copy, the pull method will be a more powerful option for you to be able to do that. Otherwise, the push method copy to is a very reasonable choice. Any questions on copying your content? Okay, pretty straightforward, definitely useful. Next option I want to talk about is managing people. So we're going to jump into the people link in the course menu and talk a little bit about Banner. Banner's going to handle all of your student enrollments for you. So you won't be coming in to enroll your students in your official academic courses. It's also going to manage instructors of records and TA. So those roles that go in Banner, they're going to come through automatically. Nobody is going to need to come into Canvas for that piece, but you may have course information. You will have another reason to add someone, maybe a colleague, maybe you have a student who has a closed captioner, someone who needs to access your course information. So you will be able to enroll people using the plus people button.
So Melissa, that's for the tutors, right? Too that
anyone
right.
you want to add that doesn't come through Banner would be this process. And they would have their email address. So you just enter their email address. It gives you the example here in this grayed out font, separated by comma. And then you select the role that you want them to get. So if you select the teacher role, they have full rights just like you as the teacher. They see and do everything. If you select colleague, that's close to being a teacher, but it takes away all of the options to be reminded of grades. If you've got somebody who's going to share access to your course, but you don't want them to get grade notifications, the colleague role is perfect for that. They could still do some editing and take some information, but they're not going to get reminded that they have grading to do. So the next role here, this is the TA role.
Can they grade assignments if they are and their colleague, or it has to be a teacher?
They would have to be a teacher or a TA. So the colleague, we took away the grade feature to give people a way to not be bombarded with the grading aspect. So yes, if you're going to have them grade and they are a teacher, then you might as well, have them be in teachers. But of course, if it's part of the record of their teaching assignments, they would be going through Banner. The TA role has almost as much as the teacher, just a little bit less. And all of this information is described in detail in the resources. So you don't have to memorize this by any means. You could always just reference it. Designer is going to be somebody who builds courses. An affiliate would be two roles. This is somebody who does not work for UIW. They have to go through HR to get an account. But once they've received that account, they can be enrolled in courses to either build or to view only. Now, this is a very specific role for affiliates because it doesn't allow them to see student information. The users are hidden from these people, so they can go in and they can see your content if they're viewing. They can build content if they're a build, but they don't get the sensitive information about your students. And then this last role, observers are great for advising and tutoring of specific students, because the observer role can be linked, and that observer, whoever they're linked to, they can see that student's performance and their grades. So it helps with somebody who's wanting to keep track of a student's performance throughout your course. Any questions on the roles? Nope. Okay. So once you select a role, you also get the choice to choose to put them in a section. So if you've cross-listed multiple sections into a course, you can differentiate who has access to which section. And you can also indicate that they only interact with people that are in that section. So if you have some requirements that you're wanting to give a little structure to, you can do so. When you click next, it will confirm if the person was found in the system, and then have you select to add the user, and it will send them a course invitation, and then they will be able to get access to the course. Any questions on adding people? Okay, excellent. So the next part of people is how you manage your groups. So this is actually really best done once you have students in your course. So if you want to automatically assign your students to groups, they need to have already been enrolled by Banner for that process to happen. And that's why we finalize and publish at the very end and do these last minute tweaks, because student enrollments are going to impact how the system performs. So if I had students in here and I came over to do a group set, and let's say I'm going to call this my final project, and it's a group project, and I have choices. Just like everywhere else in Canvas, you'll check boxes or make a selection. You can allow them to self-sign up. If you choose to do a self-sign up for a group project, make sure that you have the students sign up for those groups before they attempt to complete the assignment. Canvas will allow them to do so individually if they haven't signed up before they go to do that assignment. So make sure you remind your students, sign up first, and then they will complete the group project together. You can tell it to split students into groups automatically, and then you can also allow it to, not do that, and you can save the group set and come in and add your students manually. So what that would look like is, after it runs for a second and it creates my 3 groups, I don't have any students, so I couldn't put them in automatically. I would have a list of students down the page here, and I would drag and drop them into whichever group I wanted. So you can choose the groups, they can sign up themselves, or you can let the system automatically put them randomly. Once you set up your groups here, if you choose to do it this way, or you can do it from your assignments. So you've got 2 places, just like Canvas everywhere else, lots of ways to accomplish the same tasks, tries to make it as user-friendly no matter how you work. You can come into your assignments, and let's say that my final lecture exam was what was going to be my group assignment. This is just for example's sake, so I'm going to come in and click the name. I'm going to say edit. And once the page loads, I can scroll down and I can select this as a group assignment. You have the choice to assign grades individually if you check the box. Otherwise, everyone assigned to the group will get the same grade. Here you can choose to create a new group category, which will give you the same exact options from where we were in people. So you can do this from people, or you can do this in your assignments. And you also have the option to select from the drop-down any that you have already created. So I can select that my final project groups is what is going to be associated, and then make sure I come down and click Save. After your students are enrolled and you're working in your academic course shell, that's also the time to finalize any of your assignment due dates. Why? Because in your sandbox, you're not going to have the sections if you're teaching multiple sections of courses. So you can't set this detail if you want section 1's work due on Tuesday and section 2's work due on Thursday. You wouldn't be able to set that up ahead of time. So once you're working in your academic course shell, you can come in and specify exactly what you want to have happen. And you can make each group even have an individual due date. If you say want to, project group 1 is going to do their presentation piece on Wednesday, group 2 on Thursday, group 3 on Friday. You can give them all those individual due dates in this area. Okay, any questions about groups or group assignments and waiting until you're in your academic shell with your student enrollments to set those details up? Okay, awesome. The next part, basically we want to make sure that the course functions and is, performing as we intended it to before we get going. And if I come back to my homepage or really go anywhere in the course besides grades, I always have this student view button. And I can click this to generate a test student. This will allow me to pretend to do all of the work that I've assigned my students. I can come in and I can see exactly what it's going to look like for them. I can see that they get to change how they look at the assignments page. I can open the quiz and see, oh, okay, it's allowing me to upload a file. No content. I haven't done anything. I'm going to do a file upload. And so I can really see exactly what the settings I've selected as a teacher have done in the student's perspective. And I can practice this. And if I upload files or I complete a quiz, all of that information is recorded and I can see that as a test student back in my teacher area. Let's say that I upload some things and I do some pretend work and then I want to try again. I can always come down here and click the reset student button, and that will wipe that information out and let me start over. And that's important to remember because if you do something as a test student, the system believes that a student has done some work and it will stop letting you edit information in the teacher area because students have already begun. So there's some things, right, when you go to make some tweaks. If you come back and reset the student and clear that out, those warnings will stop and go away. So you can click through and you can see all the different areas, especially the grades area. This is nice. A lot of times people wonder, what does it look like for my students? Well, it will show you exactly what your students are seeing and what they can actually control. So they get to arrange by different information. They can unselect, calculate based only on graded assignments to change how things are appearing. So keep that in mind. Whatever you've got set up is what is going to show here. I'm going to leave the student view and it's going to show me in the grade book from where I'm at as a teacher that I can see this test student is here. And now I can actually enter information and see how the gradebook is going to calculate someone's grades based on how I put these in. So you have a lot of ways to test to make sure that Canvas is doing what you're expecting it to do. And that really can help cut down on a lot of student questions if you've checked. Any questions on student view or using the test student space to check your grade book. Okay. All right, so the next feature that will help you finalize and get ready to publish is the course link validation tool. So in your course settings, on that right-hand side, the last link is called Validate Links and Content. And when you click this button, it's going to pop up another button that says to start the link validation. This takes a few minutes to load depending on how content rich your course is. So be patient, it's going to do its thing. It's checking to make sure all the links and images are set up properly. And once it kicks back the results, I'll be able to tell if I've got mistakes I need to correct before I publish. So right here, I got 9 broken links kicked back at me. And then you'll see this checkbox to show links to unpublished content. I'm going to uncheck that, and you're going to see 7 of my broken links disappeared. That's because these are just unpublished items that I have not turned on yet. So if you're interested in knowing how much stuff you have unpublished, leave the check mark. If you want to clean it up to just what's possibly broken, uncheck it. So this right here is telling me that I have 2 broken links in this page. So if I right click and open this up, I can come over here and it's telling me that there is something going on. So I have deleted something, but the link is hanging out here. And then this particular link, the file is not in the file structure. So in my copying and cleaning things up, I've removed something, or maybe didn't copy it in the first place, and now it's going to tell me I have a problem and I can go and fix that. And now if you're careful and you have no broken links, you'll get a lovely spray of confetti here, and that's kind of fun. Any questions on the link validation? Okay, and now the last part is to actually check your settings and you're publishing your course. So why do you need to check your settings before you publish your course? That's because in your settings, you control this participation piece. Now, by default, you're going to come in, and we talked about this several weeks ago, but you're going to come in and it's going to say term by default. And the term is associated with our official academic terms. There's not necessarily going to be the date you want your course to be available and open. So that's very important that you change the term to course, and then you get to control when your course starts and ends, and you can select that accordingly. So let's say class starts on Monday, and I want students to have a week before to be able to get started and preview my stuff. I can select that date and time, and I said time, but select the date. And then I can say, okay, the end of the semester is, whatever date, but I want to give them 1 week extra because for whatever reason, I've got something going on that I want them to have a little extra time. I get to choose whatever day I want it to stop. Now, these are 2 additional options you have. So before the start date and after the end date, your course will be view only or read only. But if you do not want them to be able to view it beforehand or after, you're going to need to put the checkbox. So keep that in mind. Once you've set this up exactly how you want and you update to save, your last piece is going to be to come back to your home page and turn the course on, which is going to be this publish button right in the top right-hand corner, and it will turn green. Now, as soon as your students get started working, the option to unpublish is going to go away. So you can only unpublish a course before people actually get going. So maybe, if there's something that you see the couple weeks before class started that you don't really have anybody doing any work, but you want to unpublish it real quick and make your last minute tweaks, you have a window there that you could do that. But once the semester starts and students start to work, that will not be available.
Melissa, it only
Yes.
looks
at it but don't work anything on it, will you still be able to unpublish it?
I do believe that it's tied to students actually doing something, posting in the discussion board or turning in an assignment as activity of some sort, and then that will change it. It's a good question.
Yeah, and I had another question. Yeah.
Mhm.
Because I was doing that right now as we speak, but on Blackboard. So for instance, sometimes when I'm playing with the gradebook, I can hide the gradebook. Most likely there is also an option to do it here, but I wanted to make sure that this is the case.
So to hide grades, that's there. So there's a couple of different things there. So in your settings for navigation, grades is a link here. If you wanted to temporarily hide it, you could. I would probably post an announcement or say something to your students because that would be something they might notice and get confused by. But you can temporarily say, you know, I'm going to take this away. The other way you control the grades, let's go into that space. In your gradebook, you have grade posting policy. So each column, all the items you have in your course for assignments, you can have the selection to do the grade posting policy for that assignment. So see, it says here quiz 1 specific, and you can manually post, and that will hide the grades by default until you release them. So if you're interested in doing that, or you can come over to this widget in the right hand side, that's your settings for your gradebook. And this is where you would post your late policy or the grade posting policy to manual for all of the entire gradebook. So a couple of ways that you control how students see grades.
So if I can say something, it is that whenever you do the second version, if you hide them because you did something that you want to redo or upload a different file, they will get another posting. They will get another, and maybe if you just hide it, I was thinking maybe it works better instead of just doing the settings. I didn't like how it was through the setting. That's just my personal experience this semester.
Yeah, and I agree with Lourdes because sometimes it's like I am playing with the grades and then the final weight changes and then they start seeing how it goes up and down. So I would rather kind of like block visibility so that they do not see those bumps, as Lourdes was saying. Yeah, that's.
So you also have in your settings the ability at the bottom of course details, got to go to the first tab. At the very bottom, your more options. You do also have to hide totals in students' grade summary. So there's another small feature there.
I just thought I would forget about that. It would be easier for me to
it is a small and unassuming space. It's easy to forget. Okay, great questions. If you have more about finalizing and publishing, we can definitely talk through that. And if not, I'm going to stick around until 11:30, of course, and answer any other questions you have.
I don't have any questions. Thank you for walking us through all these. I still prefer for my course to populate it like I did brand new, like I did the first one. It just very confusing whenever so many things populate in there, and then I cannot undo the stuff that I just transferred. So, but that's just my take.
Yeah, could you please show again how to hide those ones? We're in settings, then you go to, so settings.
It's called your navigation tab.
Navigation. Mm-hmm.
Yes, everything in this top area is what shows to your students in the course menu. Okay. And then you drag and drop to hide. Everything below is going to be hidden.
And then you go to the grades, and in grades,
drag them
to hide the totals and all that.
Yes, a grade posting policy.
No, yeah, I knew that one. The other one, the one that when you can hide the entire grade book.
Hide the entire, that was the navigation in settings, the one we just saw. Mm-hmm.
The navigation, and then from navigation you go scroll down, or?
From navigation, you, anything you have in the top can be seen, and you have to put it.
Oh, yeah. Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, this is visible to students, and none of
Oh.
this is. So
Okay.
whatever you want to hide from them, you would just move and then you would come and save.
Oh, okay. Good. Thank you. I thought it was a little bit more complicated than that.
What I would say
No.
that is the easy one. You drag it and you drag it back.
Yes.
I like that.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, I would definitely recommend just, announcing to your students that that's part of your process and saying, if you see the grades link is unavailable for the time being, I'm working on grades and they will be posted back shortly.
Oh, I tell them I'm working on the grade book, so disregard any changes you see.
They're flexible. As long as you communicate, they're very happy. How else can I help you with Canvas today? What other questions do you have? That's good. Either you're soaking it in or you've got it, one or the other.
For assignments, when you make a comment to the student and you go to the speed grade, I know that there is different ways to do it, and my question to you is sometimes, how do you make it that it automatically populates the grade? Because sometimes I had to enter it by hand, even if I have a rubric and I assign in the rubric whatever they got there, but then I had to actually type it on the case.
Yeah.
That's the way that it's supposed to be done. I don't know if that's the way that it's supposed to be done or not. Just curious.
So the only way that a grade is going to pop in here automatically is if it's a quiz that has all of the grades, already tagged. If it's a fill-in, like an essay style quiz where they're going to just type, it's not going to grade. It's going to expect a person to come back and look at the details and assign the grade.
When
So
you do a rubric and it has a grade attached to it, it doesn't automatically populate the grade, not even as hidden or anything, or as a draft. It just waits for you to enter the grade, right?
I will let me look into that. Let me look at it from both perspectives and see how the rubric functions with the gradebook a little bit more closely. And I'll put the details in the follow-up email for sure. Let me look at that.
When I was trying to do some assignment that had rubrics, and what I noticed was that, again, it doesn't populate. You just click like a 10 or 15 or whatever points they were, it doesn't populate in there. And the students, I don't think they can see that part. They only will see you make a comment on it.
Okay.
So
Yeah, I'll test it from the student perspective and I'll send you a screenshot of what I did versus what they see.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Typically ask them, I email a student and like, you have a second, go in there. What do you see? You see that? Yes, no, because if I don't submit an assignment, it's hard for me, but I think I'm gonna just try to submit my own assignment and just see what do I get. But I couldn't make it work like that. I tried to submit something as a test student and it was very complicated. I don't know why it was like that. And my other question to you, you're gonna look at the assignments, it is, if you make a comment to the student, are those available only the entire time, or they go away whenever the deadline of the assignment?
No, it stays as a record with their grades link and they can get to and review that information.
Okay, thank you.
Great questions. Any others? Well, that's all we've got for today. It's a quick topic, important, but not too overwhelming, and a nice way to kind of wrap up the whole conversation. I will be sending out a follow-up with some more information about the student perspective of how you grade and what they can kind of see. And then you'll also be receiving summer Canvas training information soon. Spread the word, tell your friends. Thank you guys for being here. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Melissa.
You're welcome.